Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Well, we've hit Easter here. It's one of my favorite times of year. And I was just getting the paperwork here ready for my 2002 Nissan Stagia, which should be arriving any day now. And we'll have a video about that and a drive video because I'm really stoked about getting this car and showing you guys the whole adventure there. But for today, I figured we're going to do something a little different. Easter is one of my favorite times of year. It's a big feast, spending time with family. I mean, not so much the big gatherings now because of the whole COVID business and all that, but you all know about that and are living with it as well. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you a top secret, super secret, old family recipe for horseradish. So you can make it yourself at home. Follow along. Be warned that a horseradish is like one of the rudest things in the world to make and prepare, and it can actually severely hurt your eyes, so do it with full caution, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the kitchen. As for right now, I figure if you guys want, come along for the journey, and I'll show you what it's about. Hold up. Before we get into preparing any of the horseradish, it's really irritating to people, so doubly more so for small puppies and kitties. So if you have any around the house, make sure you pick them up and hand them off to someone who can look after them while you're preparing the food. There you go. We'll see you later for a taste test. Before we get touching any food preparation or food preparation tools or the food itself, the most important thing to do is wash up before you start cooking. Now, which I know for all of you who are fans of the Greaser channel, know that's something we do at the end, but when you're working with food, it's something you do throughout the whole process. Because nothing kills a family gathering or a holiday feast like E. coli. Pro tip. Okay, so this is a authentic chunk of real horseradish root that came out from the garden that my father dug up earlier. We're going to go over to the dining room where it's kind of ventilated a little bit better than in here, and we'll get it peeled up and prepped, and then I'll have you guys come take a look at it once we're ready to go.
From a bone, can't get no loving while your man is gone. You can't get water from a dry well, can't save a sinner from the fire in hell.
Okay, so just a couple quick things here. One, horseradish, if you're harvesting the root yourself and not buying it from a store, which if you harvest yourself it's the best, is you want to harvest it in spring, when the ground is starting to thaw, when you can actually start to dig, and when the top of the plant is just starting to show some new growth. It puts it at its most potent and strongest, which makes for better tasting horseradish. Also, if anyone ever gives you crap for cutting this and crying like a little baby, much as like I am right now, don't feel bad, because horseradish is basically like onions that have gone to Chernobyl and hate you. Pro tip. Best thing to do in between and periodically throughout this process is to actually keep your hands Just give them a quick rinse. And one, hygienic reasons, of course. But two, the main reason is if you accidentally touch your face after handling raw horseradish, you're in for a bad time. Like, there's no ifs or buts, you're going to have a bad time. So keep your hands clean, and then if you accidentally touch your face, thank me later. Okay, so we got our plate here of raw peeled death. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to chunk it in the sink here. And we're going to give it a little rinse and then throw it into the multi-practic. And yeah, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so grab the lid here. And before we go turning it on and all, I'm going to give you a little pro tip. Get yourself a clean dish towel and get it pretty wet. The reason for this is horseradish, once you start cutting it up, will start to release its chemical into the air. A wet rag over the top will prevent it from getting out and act as a bit of a filter. Your eyeballs will thank me later. Okay, so what you want to do is just spot mode and get it chopped up. So we're going to get it nice and coarse. As we get it more and more chopped up, we'll keep adding the horseradish root to it. And that really is all there is to it until we're ready to start adding some of the other ingredients. Okay, when you're ready to add some more horseradish root to it, I suggest kind of take a breath of air, hold it in, and then remove the rag, keep your face clear of it, put it in, cover it back up, and then you can let your air out, and don't get your face close to this in any way. This is wholly ignorant. Observe. It's pretty much how you do it. I know it may seem really extreme, but even just that little whiff of it that I got right now is starting to get to me. So we're just going to carry on and keep on chopping this up. Okay. If fate decides to deal you a crappy hand here and the horseradish is starting to stick and build up, you're going to have to open the lid here and use a spoon. Again, I suggest using the hold your breath technique because this is still a wholly ignorant time. Oh boy. Hooah! If it's starting to kill you, you know you're doing good. Okay, so at this stage in the process, we've basically created a very potent neurotoxin. To stabilize it, what we're going to do is add a little bit of salt and a little bit of white vinegar. Basically, this process is done very carefully, but not by any particular measure. You kind of just look by how much you have, and then that's how much you're going to add to it. So, maybe just a touch more. That should be plenty good. The vinegar is basically done the same way, and we'll add that after we mix this up a little bit. if your horseradish is a little dehydrated and it's particularly dry, this is the time when you would add some water to it to get it just a little bit more moisture back in there. But ours is plenty moist, so we shouldn't have that issue really. What we do though is we'll scrape this up a little bit here and there, and we may add just a touch of water, because I have noticed here there is a couple portions here that are a little bit flashy. And it's not much you have to add. You don't want to make this a liquid. What you're trying to do is just get it resaturated. I think what we'll do is we're going to add our vinegar too. Vinegar is super easy, kind of like changing the oil. Give her a little splash. And you really don't want to go strong on this, because what separates homemade horseradish from store-bought horseradish is how much vinegar is in it. The less vinegar, the way stronger it's going to be. That should be enough. Maybe just one more little splash for good measure. Yeah, we'll call that good. Alright, let's put this lid back on. Try not to die and get her mixed up. Ooh. Okay, so at this point, what we've created is what people call prepared horseradish or raw horseradish. Essentially what we've done is we've chopped it up, released all of those toxins that kill you, stabilized them with a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of salt. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some of that, put it in a container and freeze it. Because this is perfect for if you're making horseradish soup or in other types of stew and you want that kick to it. We're going to put some in a container and throw it in the freezer so we can use it at a later date for some soup base. And then I'll show you the next step, which is how to make the proper horseradish for an Easter feast. Okay, while that's sitting over there trying to melt a hole through the countertop and kill anybody who comes within a 5-foot proximity, we're going to take some eggs, put them in a pot, and we're going to hard boil them. You want to make them a very firm hard boil, because we're going to end up needing to use the yolks only for this experiment. When you're done with them, we'll peel them. We'll take the whites and we'll give them to our favorite Chi-Chi, and I'll eat some of them, and I'm sure we can find a use for them somewhere else too. The yolks are going to go into the concoction, and I'll meet you back there after I've got these ready to go. Okay, so as you can see, we got our hard-boiled eggs all peeled and just the yolks here. What we're going to do is we're going to drop them into the mixture, and we're going to get those all chopped up and mixed in with the horseradish. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end up adding a little bit of sugar and some whipping cream. And once we get this really mixed up in a right consistency, then we'll throw it in some jars, and we're going to let it sit in the fridge for a few days. I'll talk more about that in a bit. What we're doing here, we're just going to check for consistency and thorough mix before we start adding the cream to it. It's looking pretty good. A little more mixing and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so we got it pretty finely chopped up now, and we're going to start adding a little bit of sugar. This is really honestly not crazy amount, just enough based on this volume. And that's about all we're going to do for that guy. And we're going to add in some cream, and this is going to give it that real creamy consistency. And again, it's kind of just based on volume for how much radish you got in there. We'll try that and see what it looks like. Okay, we've got it mixed up to a nice creamy consistency here. What we're going to do is remove our pot of Black Death from the mixer, take it over to our stove area here, which we previously got our containers ready to go on. And these can be any kind of containers. Just what we're going to do is we'll transfer the food into it. Then we can put it in storage in the fridge. Because the main key component of the horseradish is you got to let it settle for a day or two before you actually eat it. It just gives it a better, more robust flavor rather than the freshly prepared concoction that we've been making all afternoon. This batch here should be ready to go for Sunday morning when we have our traditional Easter brunch. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Kind of a little bit off topic from our usual stuff, but I hope you enjoyed it. Actually, I really hope you enjoyed it because we both suffered immensely in the making of this process. Horseradish is delicious, but it's a horrible thing to manufacture. The recipe is kind of all based on feel and sight. There really isn't any set ingredient quantities. Just kind of what feels right while you're making it. And that's kind of how the best family recipes are passed down. I encourage you to try it yourself. Just don't get it in your face. You're going to hate life. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good Easter. We'll see you guys around. And have fun and stay safe. When you are a super famous actor, you oftentimes con your stunt double into doing the boring parts of the shoot that you are not interested in doing. Hooah! Another cool thing about being a famous actor is you can get your camera person and all your assistants to do all the cleanup for you. And through the magic of movie making, you look like a big dang hero and a very tidy person, which in this case is wholly not true.